Right, so this is a first for the channel. We are at Lake Windermere in the Lake District, Cumbria, and waiting for the ferry to cross the Hawk's Head. Hey up, welcome back, and look at this. Lake Windermere. Yeah, a first for the channel, not a first for me by any means, but certainly a first for this here channel. So out and about on the old Moto Guzzi V7. We just come across on the ferry. I think it was £2.70 per bike, which is I think pretty reasonable. Very pleasant experience. And it's glorious yet again. On the subject of it being glorious, because in a video last week I did sort of make a reference to how fortunate we are to have weather this good this early for such a prolonged period. And the fact that the media seem to be making a bit of a meal of it. Of course, really cracking summers. I've been around long enough to be able to remember pretty much all of them since 1976. So there was a long hot summer of 1976, I remember that. I remember the long hot summer of 1995, the long hot summer of 2006, the long hot early summer of 2020 when we were all locked down, of course. Oh, and prior to that, 2018. 2018 was, again, another long hot summer where all the grass turned brown. So, from my memory alone, my lived experience, 1976, 1995, 2006, 2018, 2020, and I'm sure there are others. So nothing unusual about it as such, but it is reported that the water companies will soon be imposing restrictions such as hosepipe bans and all of that malarkey. And I suppose all of which takes me seamlessly on to the somewhat farcical situation, unforgivably farcical situation we found ourselves in vis-a-vis the privatised water industry, which, whatever your politics may be, is pretty much universally acknowledged now in this country to be an absolute unmitigated disaster. Now, it's a matter very close to my heart because, as you well know, this channel is focused heavily upon the beautiful landscapes in and around Yorkshire and out here in Cumbria. And a lot of the reservoirs now in my neck of the woods in the Yorkshire Dales are noticeably low, and it's only the beginning of May, second week in May. So we'll see what transpires. But for those of you that are not familiar with the fiasco that has become privatised water in the United Kingdom, well, certainly in England and Wales, it's still state-owned in Scotland, and pseudo sort of state-run in Wales, but anyway, for England they're all privatised, and in my neck of the woods it's Yorkshire Water. And that happened in the late 80s, 1989, at a time when a lot of the utilities, a lot of the state-run utilities, gas, electric, rail services, they were just flogged off, basically, flogged off to the private sector. Now, what happened with water is that when they sold off all the state water corporations, water boards, municipalities, whatever you want to call them, they cleared all the debt. The government cleared all the debt so that they could sell them on to private investors without there being any debt attached thereto. So they used public money, your money, my money. They used public money, taxpayers' money, to clear that debt, and then flogged it all off cheap to the private sector. Now, do you know how many reservoirs, new reservoirs, have been built since that happened in 1989 to now 2025? Have a guess. How many new reservoirs? Bear in mind, let me tell you, the population has increased by over 10 million between 1989 and now. That's well over the population of London. Over 10 million extra water users since 1989. How many extra reservoirs do you think have been built? None. Not one. Zero. Now then, doesn't stop there, does it? How many reservoirs do you think have been flogged off? Sold. Not sold as reservoirs, but sold for development. So bye-bye reservoir. How many do you think have been lost in that time? 25. So the private water companies have sold off 25 reservoirs against an increasing population of 10 million, and have replaced that loss of 25 with precisely nothing. Now, if that ain't criminally greedy and irresponsible, I don't know what is. In addition to that, bearing in mind all the state-owned water companies, they weren't companies really as such, were the water boards. They were acquired completely debt-free, and within not too long a period of time they became absolutely debt-laden again, because the private water companies, the boards, were borrowing money not to invest, but to pay dividends to shareholders. And since 1989, 74 billion pounds has been taken out of what was a public utility and paid to private investors. Now, you might say, and some do, well, hang on a minute, these private investors are like pension funds. Only a tiny proportion. Of the British water companies, just 6.5% are shares held by pension funds, and the other utilities it's more like 5%. So you see, more than 90% of the ownership of these privatised water companies is nothing to do with pension funds. So what I would do, this is my personal position, because governments of successive political stripes all been guilty of the same thing. Have all sort of claimed we can't afford to take the provision of water back into state hands. Well, there's two reasons from my point of view why you can afford to do that. Number one, it's an asset that you gain that's revenue positive from day one. So immediately that you take ownership and control of these companies, you're getting revenue. That's first one. Second one, I'd be compensating nobody. All investments are a risk. All investments are a risk. If you plough money into stocks and shares, you are taking a risk that you might make a bob or two, or you might lose a bob or two. So I wouldn't be compensating anybody other than that very, very small percentage of pension funds. Tarn house. So that'd be my position. I'd just take it back and say, sorry shareholders, I'm sure you've made a load of money out of the years over your investment, but this time around, that's it. We're taking it back. It's water, it's a stock of life, it's critical to the survival of the nation. You're not going to line your pockets with it. So rest of you, go take a running jump. And so you might say, well then, no foreign investors, and they are for the most part foreign, venture capital outfits and hedge funds and all of that. You might say, well, they'd never invest in the country's utilities ever again. Well, good. Don't want you to. It's as simple as that. We'll take them back because you've been fleecing us for so long, and we ain't ever going to ask you to invest in them again, whatever it is. State assets are state assets. They belong to the people, all of us. Hands off, sod off, piss off. Get your greedy, grubby, dirty, corrupt hands off it and don't come back. Hey, that'll be my position. Because we all know what the water companies have been doing, don't we? Pocketing all this money, paying themselves massive bonuses for failure. Borrowing money to pay bloody dividends out. Absolutely obscene. So to my mind, they've lost the right to any form of compensation whatsoever. Just take the bloody lot back off them. I mean, years and years and years of complete underinvestment in the infrastructure, so that now on a routine basis we've got raw sewage being pumped into our beautiful rivers, lakes and shorelines. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And I wish this bloody shower would just bite the bullet and just go to all these private water companies and say, right, it's coming back, and stop the ever increasing pollution of our beautiful water features in this country. I mean, look at that. This is what's at risk, folks, because of the activities of these people. And I have a pretty straightforward theory as to why this doesn't happen, why governments don't go toe-to-toe with these big private corporations that are poisoning our lives. I have a particular theory as to why they don't front them up and get serious with them, and it's because, of course, all politicians, particularly if you think about it, cabinet politicians, they end up, after their political careers, pursuing second careers in private industry, don't they? That's why it is. None of them want to upset the people that they think are going to be paying them a fat salary in a few years' time when they're out of politics. What a pretty place.
Yeah, I've done it many times.
Yeah, what a pretty place.
What we're on today? It's Thursday. Must be corned beef.
Corned beef for me. Wow, just look at that. So just had a spot of lunch at a glorious little place called Tarn House. Very picturesque. And look at the scale of this. You see, it's just that little bit scaled up to the Yorkshire Dales. Aye, so no more bleating on. Actually, I just wanted to make the point. Not everybody understands why water supply in this country is in such dire straits. And if you didn't know already, now you know why. Right, sit back and enjoy this here beautiful Cumbrian scenery.